All right. We are yet again another video. We're going to be talking about the pro pivot indicator, and we're going to go back over here to spy the our last video we did on Apple. Um, or like we'll use Apple as an example. I'm going to pull back over to spy here. I like to use spy as an example. Just kind of keep it simple. We're going to be using spy and QQQ actually. We're going to be talking about these optimized trade signals. All right, that's what we want to talk about here. So we've talked about so far our initial signals here, our weekly pivot, and our weekly support and resistance here. We talked about our support and resistance from a monthly R3 and S3 and standard deviation perspective. We've talked about our volatility based exit system. Now, let's talk about how all this correlates with our optimized trade signals. Now, first things first. Um, it's good to be trading whatever is the strongest on the day. Let's talk about that first, right? So, um, whenever we're going to the upside, um, if the SPY is stronger or the S&P 500 is stronger than the Dow Jones to the upside, then you'll get a green signal here for the uptick. And now this is something that we created specifically here for our pivot profile. Um, the uptick is totally us. All right. So yes, if you see an outperformance of the SPY on the day or the SP on the day, you're gonna get a green uptick here. And the better the outperformance, the better the signal. Now again, how does this all work? Let's just say, for example, I wanted to take a long trade on the day. Let's say this was green, the SP 500 is outperforming. We're above the weekly pivot. We have not yet hit the first point of resistance, but let's say we're at the fourth standard deviation, right? Well, like I said, that's a key sign that I'm probably about to take a bad entry, right? So maybe this has been a trend that's been going on for quite some time. And although I'm not at the first point of resistance yet, although I haven't hit that level yet, I could be looking at maybe a false move of the day, right? Now, let's say, um, boom, we got a green uptick. We're above the weekly pivot, and the high range has been lit up. We haven't hit the first standard deviation yet. Excellent, excellent idea to start thinking about taking a long here. Notice I said start thinking about taking a long. You can go with it, especially if you're just breaking out of the range. I mean, that can be an easy trade, just to be clear about that. Um, so this is your daily signal. This is your weekly signal. This signal lets you know whether or not there's been a medium term outperformance as well, which makes it even better, right? So if you have an outperformance here, the uptick is green, and you have an outperformance here, the pulse is green. This lets us know that, you know what, this isn't just a fluke. This isn't just a 1 day thing. They've been outperforming. All right. The daily trend, the weekly trend is a very, very simple indicator. It just lets us know whether or not we're above or below our 8 day average and 8 week average. Very simple. All right. It's not going to be it's not going to be a really big, we're not going to make it a really big deal, you know, as far as, like how we identify the current trend here, right? We're doing this more from a textbook perspective, all right? And so if your daily trend is green, your weekly trend is green, and you're above the high range, then that really does suggest that your trend is to the upside. Okay, I'm above my 200-day moving average as well, right? I'm above my weekly pivot. So you start to see all the signs that yes, this is what's going on, right? Then I have my baseline 50-day and 200-day. These two are more for investing, for investors, and for investing. Your thought process here is if I wanted to invest in a stock, I can also use the pro pivot indicator to let me know if the stock is usually outperforming or not, right? Especially so this is a short term outperformance. This is a long term outperformance, right? Simple. All right. So if we have a short and long term outperformance, or let's say medium term and long term outperformance here, then we're looking pretty good. Back on the trading side here, we have the momentum and the trajectory. These two, oh my goodness, these two right here are the creme de la creme of trading signals. All right. So let's be clear about this part first. All right. I'm going to start here with the trajectory. The trajectory is meant to keep me in a long position if I'm already in one. That's what it's meant to do. So the reality is, if I did find myself taking a long position here, let's say, boom, uptick popped up, and I got some momentum. We'll talk about that in a second. To the upside, I may go ahead and take the long position, right? And then this trajectory follows me off of the 20-day high. Remember, I told you how important this 20-day high and low was? That's what it does there, right? Now, if I was taking a short position below this side of the trajectory, which is the 633.43, then it's going to be coming off of the 20-day low. So basically, as I hit the 20-day low, this number shifts to let me know if we get back above the 20-day moving average by this much, we should certainly be getting out of the way. Right now, our chandelier sits right in between these two levels. And so that's what I meant when I said this is the ultimate pivot point. This is the ultimate pivot point. What it does here is it holds our bias, right? So if the market says get out of the trade, cool, I get out of the trade, but I don't change my bias until this point, right? So I get out of the trade here. That's an early signal to get out, but I hold my bullish bias until I break this level, okay? Now, as long as I'm still above the trajectory, then the reality is there's still a bullish sentiment in the market, okay? And so I have to be really careful with any short positions I take. This doesn't mean that you can't take a short position, but it means you got to be very, very careful with any short position you take. You might say, okay, cool, I'm at the 4 standard deviation mark, so I'm going to start looking for shorts in the short term. Short term, right? So if I'm above my trajectory, then my shorts are short term. My longs are medium to long term, right? If I'm below the low end of my trajectory, then my longs are short term, right? And my shorts are medium to long term, right? Let's be clear about that part. So, if I happen to be above my trajectory point here, but I'm at the monthly R3, let's just say, I'm gonna start looking for short opportunities, but I'm not gonna look to go too far beyond this point because we're still, so I'm gonna look for a short, boom, 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 boom. Okay, we're approaching the high end of the range, or in this particular case, we're approaching the 20 period moving average. I'm gonna look to get out of the way. By that point, my daily trend is likely red. But you don't want to be fooled by that and thinking that means, oh, I have to be short right now, right? All that means is I'm below the 8 period moving average, the 8-day average. That's all that means, right? But if I'm below the 8-day and the 8-week average, that's an even stronger downward signal. But I need that to coincide with a downward trajectory, right? When this is red, and this is red, oh, we got something, all right? I repeat, when this is red, and this is red, now we got something, right? Let's be clear about that. Now, let's talk momentum. Momentum in the pro pivot indicator is a very excellent tool for traders. Now, this momentum can help you get into trades, whether it's short term, medium term, or long term. If this momentum hits, if it clicks, be certain that whatever direction it's clicking in, if you have the directional bias already existing with your other signals, you might as well just go ahead and take the trade, right? Now, the only thing that makes me say, hey, I don't take the trade is if I know it's about to be a bad entry. Sometimes hitting the momentum point is actually a a contrarian signal, right? So let's say I'm getting this momentum signal and it's happening at this point right here, right? Then I'm going to start looking for this. So these are my support and resistance levels, right? So let's say we're hitting it and we're above here, and let's say this level is close to this level here. So instead of going long at that moment, I'm going to look to see how we respond to this key level here, or how we respond to the next level above, right? So be careful with you know um, how we handle the momentum side, right? We always want to make sure we're not too far along or too far away from um, our 20 period moving average. Being clear about this, if you are this far away from your 20 period moving average, you already got a momentum signal long ago that told you to be in the trade. That's how great this thing is. It's not going to miss a signal. I repeat, it is not going to miss a signal. That's the beauty of this. Now, here's how this works. This momentum signal triggers, right? We call it a volatility breakout. It triggers on a volatility breakout. We have to be pushing above the close of four candles before. We're having a sequential close. Uh, we're having a candle count moment, right? And this what it does here is it actually has it so that way you can you can take the trade at any point during the day, or you can wait for the close and take the trade there, right? This signal is especially effective if you are above or below these levels, right? If they give you a signal to the downside and you're below this level, it's especially effective. If you get a signal to the upside and you're above this level, it's especially effective. All right. Now imagine if I'm doing this, boom, boom, and I'm hitting a 20-day high. Now imagine if I'm doing this, boom, boom, and I'm hitting a 20-day low, so on and so forth. Right. Imagine if I'm getting a momentum signal and I'm to the upside and I'm only 1% above my 20-day moving average. Let's say I'm just bouncing off of that thing. You can see how this stuff works, right? So, but a momentum signal that's already 20% away from the 200-day moving average might be a stretch, right? So you start to look at these types of elements, right? So utilize it along with everything that you know, right? Is the market getting more bullish or less bullish, and is the scenario getting more bullish and less bullish? Use your mind, right? Use your brain, um, uh, 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 and all of your knowledge to go along with all these trade signals that you see here. A little secret for you is right here. You have your daily pivot. What I like to do is I like to set my daily pivot, right? So, I'll say, okay, 6:45:34. Go over to my chart. Let's go to SPY, right? And my daily pivot is always right here, the one that's in red. Let's go to the 15-minute chart here, right? Let's say 6:45:34. Boom. So basically, what I'm going to look for, right, and I have my stop, I'm going to have my trailing stop right here. It's going to be set based on these particular levels here. So I'm going to say, okay, cool. Let's say the momentum clicked back to the upside, right? So the momentum clicked back to the upside. Let's say, boom, you know, um, SPY opens above the weekly pivot and starts to take off, right? Well, then this, right, this becomes my the stop long, right? That's my stop long, right? Let's say we're hitting this level right here, 645.35, right? Um, Matter of fact, well, no, let's say we're hitting a new high here at around 649, right? Um, so what ends up happening is I end up saying, okay, cool. Do I want to? Am I in this trade for the long term, or am I in this for the short term? If I'm in it for the short term, I take my stop right here, 647. I say, okay, cool. If we break below 647, right, I'm out of there, right? Plain and simple. I say if we break below 647, I'm out of there. That's it. I'm not even thinking about it. Okay. That's how we get it done. Okay. Um, and so, if we pull back and we just touch the level a little bit, and let's say we break it a little bit, that's cool. I don't really worry about that. What I want to see is us either bounce off this back to the upside, that's cool. Or if we close below this, we have to close below it. Let's say on the 15-minute chart or the 1 hour chart or the 2 hour chart, we close below this level, right? Then cool. Depends on my level of conviction. A lot of times I'm like, look, I'm not here for a very long time in this trade. A lot of times I'm like 2 hour chart, but sometimes I'm like 15-minute chart. Right? If we close below this on the 15-minute, I'm out. Right? I don't care whatever happens at the end of the day. Right now, the longer term signal is going to work better. So closing below this on the daily chart is more important than closing below it on the 15-minute chart. So you choose your time frame. But let's say we also push below it very strongly, right? And with volume, right? Then that might be a reason for me to exit there as well, right? But I like to keep my daily pivot here. This right here, this is always going to be my chandelier is down here, right? My chandelier is down there. So 637.53. All right, let's move that up. 637.53. Hold on. Great. All right, there we go. So that's my new chandelier right there, right? So if we were to, next week open and start to approach the chandelier, and boom, we close below this next week, then it's open season for short opportunities. Right now, I'm looking for short opportunities. I'm looking for maybe a retracement and a drop back below it, so on and so forth. And it makes it even better if we get below this level here, right? But I certainly would start looking for short opportunities here. So if I get momentum below this level, I'm going for it, right? If I come down, I hit this level and bounce, and I get some momentum from there. I'm gonna. Now our momentum signals um, really are a patient man's signal, right? These momentum signals aren't going to just give you a signal for every little bounce you see, okay? It's really going to wait for a very specific signal, and then it'll let you go from there. All right. Either way, um, hoping that you guys are enjoying the Pulpit Vid Indicator. These are your videos of the month, and I will look forward to dropping more videos for the month of September. And we'll talk to you soon. Be well.